Do you want to do a sound check or are we? No, you already did? Yep. Of course you did. All right. We're gonna get started, friends, just to keep everybody on time. Teachers are just such a chatty bunch. Of course you are, only talking about. All right. Good evening, directors, staff, employees, honored guests, members of the public, joining us in person and those watching online. I will now call this February 26th, 2025 regular business meeting of the Twin Cities German Immersion School Board to order. We start each meeting reflecting on our mission, vision, and values. The mission of the Twin Cities German Immersion School is the innovative education of the whole child through German immersion. Our vision is under Hön, under Sein, built off in Denken and Handeln, educating multilingual world citizens who hear others, see others, and think and act with an open mind. Our core values are curiosity, kindness, challenge and support, intercultural engagement, and community. At the start of each meeting, we also take a moment to read our land acknowledgement statement, which is as follows. We acknowledge and appreciate that TCJS is located on Whakapute Dakota traditional, ancestral, and contemporary homeland near Lake Minnewaca in the land now known as Minnesota Makoche. Our presence here is linked to generations of Whakapute stewardship over their land, as well as to the historical and ongoing injustices of settler colonization that impact Indigenous peoples to the present day. We are committed to understanding our role in this legacy and to educating ourselves and our community about Indigenous history through continued mindfulness and engagement in and outside the classroom. All right, we'll now take the roll for the record.
Director Elbers.
Here.
Director Hyde.
Here.
Director Larson.
Here.
Director Lindner.
Here.
Director Reich.
Here.
Director Smaka.
Here.
Director Tesfayesus.
Here.
Director Yamaniap.
He is traveling today, so it's excused.
Ex officio member Director, Executive Director Symphony.
Here.
And Assistant Principal Catherine Radicke.
I'm here.
Excellent, we have a quorum. Tonight, we are excited to welcome many members of our TCJS community to join us as we celebrate 22 milestone service anniversaries. That's pretty impressive, friends. Way to go. As a community, we're so fortunate to have staff and teachers who share a deep dedication to our school, its mission, and most importantly, our students. We're grateful to each of you for sharing your professional gifts and talents with TCJS, and we're so glad that you've chosen to be part of our school. We appreciate the many, many unique ways all of you enrich our school community. So thank you for being here tonight. We're really excited to celebrate you. I'd also like to recognize Danielle Miller, who is here as a representative of TCJS's authorizer, the University of St. Thomas. In her role, Danielle attends a handful of board meetings throughout the school year, and I'm so glad she's here tonight to join in this special celebration. So with that, we will move on to our agenda for the evening. The first order of business for tonight is to approve January's minutes. Can I get a motion to approve January's minutes?
So moved.
Oh, thank you, Director Albers and Director Hyde. What do you want, a second? Someone?
Second.
Thank you, Director Smaka. Are there any edits or changes to the January board minutes? All right. Hearing none, the January minutes are approved. Our next order of business is to approve tonight's meeting agenda. Can I get a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Director Larson. Any amendments or discussion regarding tonight's agenda?
Other than being excited for it.
Yeah, you can share that excitement. All right, that we will approve tonight's agenda as noted in the board packet then. That brings us to our open forum. The school board recognizes the value of participation by the public in deliberations and decisions on school district matters. To maintain orderly and efficient proceedings, the board provides a specified period of time in regular business meetings during which the members of the public attending in person may address the school board. Is anyone here planning to address the board tonight? I think you all are just honorees, so that's fantastic. All right, since no one is here, we will close our open forum for the evening. Which moves us on to our special recognition portion of our meeting. Each month, we recognize people in our community who have gone above and beyond to help make our community the great place that it is. So we have a few different slides recognizing various groups this evening that we will share right now.
Yeah, I get to go first. This past, on the 12th, we had History Day, which is our competition. Well, first and foremost, it's at our school, and then it goes up into all the way to nationals. And History Day is a thing that 6th through 8th graders do for English class. It's a really great way for them to practice some more real world skills as far as citing sources and getting to kind of look into the past as far as what's happened in connection with the theme each year. So obviously, in order for this to all work, we need judges to help with this competition. And so up on the screen tonight are the judges that helped out with History Day this past year. I know Fresh Schley and Herr Brentlinger were very, very excited that they got so many volunteers so quickly, and that wasn't something that they had to worry about. I know it's a way that a lot of people who even have alumni children really enjoy giving back in that way. So it's really fun. I've done it a few years too, especially during COVID when you could do it at home on the couch. And it was great. So thank you to Kirsten, Jim, Aisha, Cindy, Elizabeth, Louise, Lisa, Matthias, Katarina, Candice, Maria, Colleen, Bitta, Angela, Julie, Julia, Rose, and Richard Hyde, who's sitting here tonight too, for all of your judging. There's quite a few moving on to regionals at the U of M. It's coming up soon.
10th.
Yeah, the 10th of March, right? Yeah.
Awesome. You can give our History Day judges a round of applause. Excellent. All right, Wandy, I think you're up.
Yes, sure. So we also get to thank staff and others who have helped organize the middle school skiing tubing trip. After so many years, I actually finally got to go too. Although true to form, I went about it through a couple other extra steps. Although, you know, Chris, Roxanne, teacher and family chaperones had worked really hard to make this a seamless trip. The kids did have a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. So thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Another ski trip.
On the same stroke of skiing or involving snow, we want to thank the 8th grade families who organized the reboot of the Trollhaugen family ski trip. Especially want to thank Julia Elketow, Sarah Wilkinson, and Nick Ludwig for organizing that. And I think they had a wonderful time. And at least we had snow this year.
Yeah, exactly.
So thanks to those families.
All right, and finally, we wanted to say a special thank you to our PTO event organizers who helped organize Catstronauts, the event with local artist Drew Brockington. I heard it was a fantastic event. We were in hockey playoffs, so our family didn't get to go, but I talked to Candace, and 131 people attended this awesome event. So a special thank you to Candace, Erin, Courtney, Ivanka, Jane, Monica, Alyssa, Heather, Anna, Laura, and Deb for all of their work to organize that really cool and really unique event for all of our budding graphic artists and authors in our community. So
And could I chime in that event was the bomb for the kids. They were so excited. They came back, they all started writing books,
awesome.
and they still are. They were really impressed by that.
Perfect, which is exactly what we want to see. So thank you to the PTO for organizing that really amazing event. And I heard there might be a follow-up, but stay tuned. So, excellent. Well, now we get to our highlight of the evening, recognizing our milestone anniversaries for our staff members. So I think we have 22 people that are being recognized this year. So traditionally, we always read some of the comments that the community has submitted as their well wishes and thanks for those that are receiving awards this year. So we are going to do that. I think board, everybody should have access to that document, and we'll just take a turn for each person. So Ed, will maybe start with you, unless that's the one in German. No, okay. Jens, we're going to default to you for that one. So,
Yeah.
Start at the top.
yeah, and I think, should we go hand out, or do you want to hand out awards except for your own? Or
I'll hand out because I was yeah.
Why
okay,
don't you hand out two?
Okay.
And we'll just.
okay, you guys just read it. Okay, perfect. And then do you want to take any? We'll take maybe a group shot at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
Generally, my inner Julie, who always remembers to take photos at various community events. All right, first up.
At the top of the document is Scott Stevenson.
Oh, we'll do him last.
Oh,
Let's
sorry.
start with 3 years. We have to build up. We have to build up.
All right, thank you.
3 years.
Starting at the top, good, working our way up. Vanessa Kohler. Vanessa, this comment is from Valerie. Has it only been 3 years? LOL. You fit in with us. You fit in with us here so perfectly. It seems that you have always been here. Thank you for your heart, your German skills and usage, and just for all you do. Congrats on 3 years.
Is not
If-
here
if
tonight.
You want to call us? People are online.
She's not online as
She's not
far as I know. Nope.
If there are folks online,
We'll do.
we'll give a shout out.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. Next up.
Next, we have Isaiah Turbine. This comment is from Natalie K. or Kaplan. Congrats on three years, Isaiah. It's been so great to have you back this year. Your warmth and friendly presence light up the space in our school. Thank you for everything you do.
Right, the next one's for Courtney Beckman. From Anna, Jan, and Zelda. Thank you so much for having such a big heart and always thinking about ways to make school a better place for our kids. You are amazing.
Next one. Okay, the next one is for Kimberly Hackett, and this comment is from Ginger. Congratulations, Kim. Thank you so much for all your hard work. You have made such a huge difference, capitals, with your knowledge and thoroughness. Thank you, Ginger.
Thank you, Kim, joining us online, so we'll give her an extra shout out. Thanks,
Kim,
Kim.
we're still
Thank you,
hoping
Kim.
for new twins.
I got some.
Sends a heart.
She's on the heart.
Yeah, heart to you.
All right, next we have Daisy. And this comment is from Valerie. Guessing it's the same Valerie because it's spelled the same. Daisy, there's exclamation points. We are so grateful to have you here. You fit in with us perfectly, and I'm so glad to know you. Congrats to 3 years.
Yay.
We next recognize Adrian Nopala Ortega. This message is from Susan Hall. Adrian, thank you so much for all the work you do and that you always have a smile and a positive attitude. Congratulations.
Next is Tobias Shook.
Tobias?
Tobias, from the Sauce family. Vielen Dank for your time here at TCGIS. Olympia and Damien have been so lucky to have you as their teacher. Thank you.
Next, we have Isabel. This is from Nicole Crashell, I'm assuming. Isabel, thank you so much for all you do. Your dedication to our community is inspiring, and your leadership and support in the front office mean a lot. You're doing an incredible job.
Next is Stephanie Pisto from Cape Durban. Congrats, Frau Pisto. What a joy it is to have you as Ruby's teacher. We love you and wish you many more years of good teaching with a smiley face, heart emoji, praise, heart, and pray.
The next one is for Andrew Haugen. Andrew, time flies, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. I really enjoy working with you, and your energy, patience, and compassion are inspiring. And that is from Nicole.
All right, and next we have Birgit Binkowski. And this note is from Ginger. I feel like Ginger should be here to.
Not mine.
No, it's not. Congratulations, Birgit. Thank you for all your hard work around here. And I will second that. And so a funny story. I actually was friends with her husband's brother in college, and we just found that out a few weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw the last name and then there's not a lot of Binkowskis.
It's just bringing everybody together.
Yeah, so thanks again, Birgit, for everything you do.
Next, we recognize Frau Kathleen Gilhoff. This message is from Kirsten, John, and Everett Reich. I may add a couple words of my own at the end. Congratulations on 3 years at TCGIS, Frau Gilhoff. Thank you for sharing your many gifts and talents with our school. We are grateful for all you do and all the ways you go above and beyond for TCGIS. And then personally from us, Frau Gilhoff has one of our sons. And we really appreciate the way she is patient and understanding and goes the extra mile like the Reich said. So thank you, Frau Gilhoff.
In exciting news, Ketron has officially extended her setup contract for another 3 years. And so we'll have to create a 6-year for you. This one doesn't have my name. But that one's name.
Congratulations.
Okay, Ketron.
Next is Keith and Kalad. Congratulations, Keith. Thank you for all your hard work around here, Ginger.
Next up, we have Elizabeth Saint Bennig. She's gonna hand herself her trophy.
No.
And this is from Renee Sudi. Frau Zanefinnig, congratulations on 5 years at the helm. Thank you for all that you do each day to keep TCGIS running smoothly.
Here you go. You mustn't hold that while you
We'll put this over
saw
here.
the other
Thank
reports.
you.
Yay.
Don't forget your cookie.
Not. Secrets are great. Everybody gets.
Everybody gets,
Even you.
Yeah.
Next is for Kim Michelin.
Micklin?
Sorry. Leva Kim, thank you for everything you do. It's been amazing to work with you, both as an EA and as a teacher. And I always appreciate your hallway chats before school. Congrats on 5 years. And that's from LG Tilby.
I think it's Liba
Leva
Grusa.
Tilby.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at it worked out.
As if we would have timed it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The German one is up for me.
Yay, perfect.
So we want to recognize Andrew Lubin. Alles Liebe zum 5. TCGIS Dienstjubiläum, lieber Andrew. Deine Sicht auf Dinge und dein Engagement für deine Schülerinnen und Schüler inspiriert mich. Alles Liebe, Nina.
Translation.
No translation needed, right?
All right, and another stroke of luck. I get Sam.
There you go.
Sam here. No. Oh. All right, Sam Graff. This message is from Katerina. Oh, it starts with German. I don't know. Actually, you might have to help me.
Herzlichen Glückwunsch.
Yep. Sam. I have always appreciated your genuine curiosity and authentic way of being in the world. You create space for people to feel safe, trying new things and asking for help. Your enthusiasm for math and life in general is contagious. I appreciate you. And I'll second that. Well, I love all of our teachers here. Sam, I think, is very special. We're very lucky to have him. Berlin comes home all the time with extra math that she goes and works with him in the morning for like special challenges and stuff. And it just, those little things that just really mean a lot to the kids. So yes, very much appreciate you, Sam.
Next, we recognize Kat Sweeney, and this message is from Natalie K. Kat, my partner in GSA crime, endlessly grateful for you, your presence and your energy in the middle school. Thank you for everything you do for me and our students and our staff. You are such a caring and thoughtful person who really works to make the world a better place. All the love. Congrats on 5 years. And then I would also like to personally thank Frau Sweeney, who also teaches one of our sons. Again, really appreciate the patience and going the extra mile. So thank you.
Next is Ginger Sanford as we move on to the 10-year celebration.
And
Ginger's online.
joining us online. Hey, Ginger.
Hey, Ginger.
Hi, Ginger.
And this note is from Renee. Frau Sanford, congratulations on 10 years at TCGIS. Many thanks for your work towards helping our students thrive. Warm regards. Thank you.
Our other 10-year recognition this year goes to none other than Esther Noy, who is here in person. This comment is from Christine Walls. It says, thanks for keeping an eye on the big picture and all the picky little details. Seconded. Your work is hugely valuable and greatly appreciated, even if you don't hear that as often as you should.
I love how many of these say, I look forward to the next 10 years. Including mine.
So we have a 15-year of Frau Krug. Congrats, Frau Krug. Thank you for making school magical for our littles. Love from the Rhoda girls.
Can I add something? So I was gonna be teaching middle school drama this year and I was really looking forward to it and had all the fresh ideas. And then 2 weeks before school started, Elizabeth called me and said, "Hey Scott, we need you to do second grade." And I knew I'd be working with Anka, who for many years, I was always flip-flop with her. I was in a 1-2 team, but I was never with Anka in her grade level. And since I knew that, that took about 5 seconds, I said, sure. I'll do that.
No.
I'm so happy to have you. It's so
Awesome.
much- Yeah.
You guys are a dream team.
I'm so good on this. Yeah.
If I can also add one thing, we should also congratulate Anka for recently becoming an American citizen.
Yeah.
I was trying to fish out some pictures from the car parade, because I
Oh.
came across those the other day, but I didn't think we'd really want to remember those.
Would our 20-year candidate please rise?
Here we go. Here we go.
20 years, you know, 20 years, you have to get to speak.
Right, Scott. Your thank you comes from the family of Brooks Oja. Congratulations on 20 years of teaching. It takes a truly special person to step in and help wherever needed, as we just seen at the example. And your dedication to the school and its students is so deeply appreciated. Family of Brooks Oja.
Scott has answered that call twice in the 5 years that I've been here, and I truly appreciate it. Can we hug? I wasn't sure. Okay.
It could also be noted that we had to create a new award.
Yes.
For Scott.
The 20-year award, so.
And we would have also had to make a special lanyard, so if you'd like a 5 plus a, or a.
Oh, yes. 2 tens.
Okay, I guess
I love it. I thought you might not want to give up that lantern because it's so lantern lanyard to be so much love.
Well, I was looking forward to switching up.
Okay, well.
Maybe we should
Make
do,
that happen.
yeah, maybe we should do a student competition for the design.
Yeah.
Fine.
Well, here's 2 tens. Just
Okay, I'll take it.
Well, thank you all for coming and for being here tonight. We're really glad to celebrate all of you as we feel about the people online too. So thank you for everybody who logged on. And then I think before we recess, as we recess, if we could just take a group photo, that would be really great.
Can we hold our awards?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Wear your lanyard.
and wear your updated lanyard if you can throw it on.
And please, during the reception time, make sure that you help
Oh, yeah.
and help yourself to a piece of their thank you cookie. There's enough for everybody.
It's homemade, so.
Maybe by my mom.
Maybe.
Maybe by my mom's.
What time are we reconvening?
It says 7:40.
Okay, I think-
5 minutes early.
Yeah, I think we could, we'll recess until, 7:30 and we'll reconvene at 7:30.
Thank you all again.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Where should we take it?
2 minutes. I can't see is that clock right?
No, it's
7:30?
It's 7:30 right now.
All right, perfect. All right, it's 7:30, so we will call this meeting of the Twin Cities German Immersion School Board back to order. Next up on our agenda is the director's report. Frau Zanvenig. Take it away. And you did mention you made some tweaks to this, right? So that we might not have
This is the update.
this is the updated.
I just
Perfect.
deleted an extra slide that was
Oh,
duplicated
excellent.
and corrected the spelling. Wasn't
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, great. We'll start with operational updates. The slide, financial indicators from our December report show that we have 82 days cash on hand. Our enrollment at this point in December was showing up at 559. And so Kelly Ripple and I changed the average daily membership, or I'm sorry, changed the original budget. Harry Aberhard, could you move that box for just a, yeah, thank you. We revised their working budget to 560 to better correspond with the average daily membership at 560.55. Just a reminder that that 0.55, which looks strange, is because membership can be prorated, and it is based on, so we take attendance a couple different times throughout the day. The DSCR is at 106, so we're meeting our bond covenant of 1.0, and our fund balance hasn't moved real much. It's at 28.9%. Current enrollment, which at the time I made this is, I think this is actually accurate, more accurate than the previous slide. So we're at 559 right now. We keep staying even Steven, losing one, gaining one. 559 is where we remain. The next slide is the next year's enrollment. And at this point, we are landing at 554, but we have a lot of outstanding data to come. The offers that are out, I believe that the date that they've been given is this Friday. And then the re-enrollment survey of our current families has at least another week. So I'm hoping that by the next board meeting, we will have those numbers pretty firmed up.
Can you talk a little bit about the outreach to the families, especially the kindergarten families?
Sure. There are 33 offers out in kindergarten, and so Nicole is working through the list and connecting with those families. If they are expressing interest in chatting with me, then I will be calling those families if they have any questions, or if she thinks that it would be worthwhile for a reach out. If she calls and they say we accepted another offer, then we know, just to see where we're at on that. And the kindergarten is still waitlisted. We do have one early admission as well. Re-enrollment is about 85% at this point. Any other questions about that slide?
When you say 85%, that means 85% of people have responded, or?
85% of the families who are current families have responded to the re-enrollment survey.
Okay.
Correct. Next slide, Harry Eberhard. Thank you. Keeping recruitment and retainment at the forefront, we had our Festival of Cultures, which we then were able to show some great posts on our social media. So adding to our vibrant social media pages with those great pictures. My mom made one of the pictures. Valentine's Cafe Clutch was that last Friday. And then this Friday, we're doing a new family Cafe Clutch. Last week's Cafe Clutch was attended by the most people I have ever seen at a Cafe Clutch. We had a Morgenkreis visit for the littles, for the K4 families, which was definitely a draw and super well attended. So we'll keep that in mind for next year.
We ran out of coffee.
We sure did. And cookies.
And cookies.
Yeah. Paige and I are going to the Germanic American Institute's Gedankenaustausch tomorrow evening. It's an exchange of ideas. Paige went last year. This will be my first time. We're excited to continue our partnership with the GAI. Paige is running a new family play date on March 2nd with a couple of parents, Holly and Lindsay. So those parents initiated, and then Paige is putting the details together. Super exciting. I'm going to be in a live Q&A streamed on Facebook for the Park Bugle on March 7th. Details forthcoming. Yay. And the Star Tribune summer camp ad is something that we haven't done before, but they reached out to us with the possibility, and it seemed like a really great opportunity to use our Fund for funds to advertise not only for the camp, but then also hopefully, for our school. It's clearly a target market that we are looking for, anybody who is looking at the summer camp ad. So you can see the ad on the next slide, bottom right corner. It's really cute.
Super fun.
One thing we noticed when we saw this was that other schools have a QR code, even our friends at the GAI. So next year, we're doing a QR code. thanks to Paige for putting that one together. It's really cute. Couple of staffing updates. Tanya Humble has joined our staff. She is assisting Director Stahl and working kind of side by side with Andrew Haugen and the special education leadership team. She's working with some specific cases, handling some case management, freeing up Andrew to be able to do some strategic visioning. And unlike Director Tammy Stahl, Tanya is on site, and that's definitely a presence that we're feeling. Emma Mays is a new case manager. We contracted her through a staffing organization, and she is taking on a few cases and helping us to build up our Setting 3 program. Just a quick rundown, special education students are in one of 4 settings. If they're in setting 1, they're spending 80% of their time in class. If they're in setting 2, they're spending 60% of their time in class. If they're setting 3, they're spending 40% of time in their class. And if they're setting 4, they are not spending any time in a general education classroom. And so we have a need, which we've not had before, for that setting 3. And so it's a totally new program, and we needed some expertise. And so Emma and Tanya are going to help us with that. Any questions about that slide?
How often is Tanya here?
She is here 20 hours a week, and her schedule is steady throughout the month, but every day is sort of different. So a couple hours here, a couple hours here, and she can adjust to be on site for certain IEPs if needed.
And are they one or both planning to be here next year as well? Are you planning on having them next year? Or is that
Emma is
part
a
of it?
great question. Her contract is just till the end of the year. If it works out, she could be, it's a sort of situation that we could try to get her on as a TCGIS staff member. And then Tanya, I think one important word that it doesn't say up there is interim. It's an interim position. We will reevaluate at the end of the year, kind of waiting for that SPED audit to come back, which will have a whole section on leadership. We're also doing I can't remember what Tammy called this, a workload study, trying to figure out how much, based on the number of kids we have with case management, how much director do we need? How much assistant director do we need? Et cetera, case managers, things like that. So a lot of data coming our way soon. We'll make some decisions.
And Tammy's doing that?
Tammy's doing that.
Okay, great.
Charter Connect, we met with Dallin, came to the committee of the whole. Dallin is the owner, CEO of Charter Connect, and we had him talk to us about how successful our ads have been and the packed class that we added. And he explained that we've sort of just hit this momentum. And so we agreed to add $1,000 to our Google and Meta ads for the next 2 months. So we should see an increase in our ad capacity.
And that was strategic based on enrollment.
The time
Trying to-
period?
yeah.
Mhm, correct. Yep. And then after the completion of April, we'll probably be putting that on pause until August. Operational things that we're doing to prepare for the 25-26 school year. Assistant Principal Catherine Radke and I are looking at our emergency protocols. And so I went to Groves Learning Organization to learn about Raptor Technologies, a really interesting tool that we could use to discuss or to communicate better as an admin team when we have emergencies at our school. And then we're moving to this system called Standard Response Protocol, which I will invite Catherine Radke to the September board meeting next year, because by then it'll be in place. We'll talk all about it. And so I got to see that in action at Groves. It was really great.
So both those procedures are in action at Groves?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Standard Response Protocol is in place at the St. Paul schools, several schools in our LIST conference. We see it everywhere we go.
It's also called I Love You Guys.
That's the name of the
okay.
company.
Okay,
We have it at Edina as well as Raptor. Yeah.
Great.
You see it all around.
Andy is currently working on a quote for Raptor. We believe it's in the $2,000 range. And so we'll make space in our budget for that if that's.
And it's like a walkie system, or it's like
an app.
It's an app.
And so you open it up and there's 4 buttons depending on the need. And whoever you are, wherever you are in the building, you can just push this. And then the whole system kind of starts. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Kim Hackett and Isabel are working on the request for proposals as per our procurement policy. We took a look at all the contracted services that we have. We actually have less RFPs than we thought. At first, this seemed like a really burdensome, heavy lift, and it's actually not going to be too tricky. So we're working through that. Mid-year reviews for administrative and support staff will begin in the beginning of March and finish at the end of March so that we can plan for staff increases in the budget for next year. Campus planning met in February, and we discussed the Emmanuelson POTUS visit with Andy and John Steingraber, talked about our HVAC. The recommendation that they gave us, I don't think what Andy was expecting, but John told me he was expecting. In a nutshell, they came in and said that every room in the old building needs its own unit. Instead of doing anything with units on the roof or changing anything out, they each need their own little unit. The cost came back. I don't think that was a surprise to anybody. A lot. It's a lot. So we have some next steps, going to see the units in action, seeing how loud they are, talking about financing things. And so we're making progress, but it's a slow road. Yeah.
Is that something, so that was the option they said was available? I was told at one point that units would like blow the grid.
No, what the issue is, we can't use the existing ducting system.
Right, okay.
So that's why we can't just put a single
Unit.
plan in place for the whole building,
Okay.
because we'd have to upgrade that whole duct system, which
Gotcha.
is, yes,
I just remember
ridiculously
talking to him about it
expensive.
as the chief complainer. And he was like, no, we can't do that. And I would blow the grid. I was like,
Well, and these are like not, Elizabeth said like this, these are like big,
They would basically take up one window
Yeah.
in the classroom.
oh, wow.
so there's,
So blow the grid.
well, I think there'd be some whole rewiring.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, good to know.
it's good to have options.
Yeah. Our sign has been ordered. We're just waiting for the ground to thaw on that. And I can't wait to have a sign cutting or a ribbon cutting ceremony for our sign.
You
That
do
will not
the
cut
hard
sign.
hat shovel thing.
Yeah, that'd be great too.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have big scissors too. The design process is running smoothly so far. Christine and her partner Jessica did all the listening sessions with people in the building and how they use the space. She and I met this week to look through that to see if it gelled with what I was thinking, and it does. And so now they will begin to propose what they think will be necessary, and then we'll talk about phasing and cost and things like that. And one interesting thing is that we kind of went into this thinking we were planning a welcome desk. And it was very clear at the end of these listening sessions and some careful thought that I don't believe we're doing a welcome desk. And Christine's line of a welcome desk that has no one sitting at it is not a very welcome desk. And we're just not able to staff it in the way a welcome desk would need to be staffed. So we're going to plan B. We will have a welcome area. Instead, that will be a really fun lounge. It'll be a spot where Nicole starts the tour. It'll show our history. We'll still do signage, mission, vision, values, all in that atrium, but we are moving away from having a stationary desk with electrical as a security station. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is some extra things that are happening outside of the TCJS world, but in that world of German language. The GAI has finalized our scholarships for the capstone exchange. And so Kelsey is the woman over there at the GAI that I work with. She and I are getting together to talk through that process. The GACC membership has been renewed. That was a discussion that we had maybe 2 months ago or one meeting ago. And I invited Sharon, I remember Sharon's last name.
Haywood.
Thank you. And she's having coffee and cooking with me in 2 Fridays. And we're going to talk about how we can take our relationship to the next level. Excited. ZFA, I mentioned before, our contract was renewed with Katrin Gilhoff for another 3 years. So that's really great. some academic updates, and then I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Principal Radke. So whole child updates, we did our online safety and digital footprint session for 7 and 8. That is with Clarissa Herman, the same provider that has provided the sessions since I started 5 years ago. 4th grade puberty lessons are underway, but this time our 4th grade teachers are doing those, which is really great. We don't have to hire those out anymore. Catherine's joining us today. PBS coaching tickets for middle school students is an implemented program. You got ticketed for, so similar to an adult world where when we do things that are against the rules, we could get ticketed, similar process. Middle schoolers are responding well to it. Bookmark contest for the Lazy Marathon is this week, and the Lazy Marathon will begin in March. I invited Catherine Radke. She's, I think, the last of the admin members to come to a board meeting to share their special niche area. And Catherine is going to talk about the student belonging survey.
Great, can you go to the next slide? And the next one, perfect. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here. This is a passion area. How students feel at school. Do they feel like they belong? Do they see themselves at school? And this all kind of came to a head last year in a bunch of different groups. So the whole child task force, the conversation around a student belonging came up. We were talking about restorative practices for students. The conversation came up. It came up in the student support team meeting, and then it also came up at the diversity and belonging committee meetings that we were having last week. And so last year, it just felt like a really good time to start this survey to figure out how our students are actually feeling. Again, we want to figure out, do they feel like they are accepted? Are they included, represented? And we wanted to center their voice. A lot of the conversation around SEL and inclusion is happening or was happening, and we are just missing a big voice in that conversation, and it was our student voice. You can go to the next slide. So this is current. We did the survey last spring for the first time. The survey was compiled. It was about 20 questions long. And the groups that I already mentioned had a look at it last spring before we sent it out. We had also shared it with Student Council as well as Staff Council. And it was ready to go last spring. So our students took it for the first time. And then after that spring survey, we decided or thought it on the whole child task force that we wanted to see how they were feeling mid-year, kind of take a mid-year pulse on that, and then again at the end of the year. So this went out in January to all middle school students, 5th through 8th graders on a Google form. It was anonymous. Again, 20 questions were asked, and about 70% of middle school students participated. This was about the same percentage that participated in the spring. So 70% to 70%. Last spring, we did not have a strong 8th grade representation. The survey went out around the time that they were in Capstone. So that was a learning moment for us. But again, you can see here that the 7th and 8th grade participation was pretty low. 7th grade, we should have about 55 students, and 8th grade, we have all the way up to around 70. So that participation was low, which, just bear that in mind when we're looking at the data. Go to the next slide. This is comparing, on the left side, you'll see in the orange box, the percentages from last year's spring, 2024. And the answers were agree and mostly agree to the following statements. These were 6 of the questions or statements out of the 20. So this is just kind of pulling some of the high level summary here. You can see most, if not all, of those percentages increased. I feel like I belong at school was 91%. That's a huge number. That is really high. My teachers care about me, also 85%. Those are some pretty big numbers, which I think is a good indication of how our students are feeling, our middle school students. again, this is the summary of grades 5 through 8. A lower percentage, the one at the bottom, still increased since last spring, was I see myself or my identity is represented in the texts and books we use at school. So that is an area for opportunity and growth. If you want to go to the next slide, this is very small. I acknowledge that. If you are looking at it on your own personal computer screen, maybe you can zoom in to 125%. You can get a bigger chart. But I'll draw your attention to, so we segregated the data based on grade level. So students indicated their grade level, and then they also had the opportunity to choose statements such as, I identify as a student with a disability, I identify as someone in the LGBTQ2+ community, I identify as non-white. And so you can see the percentages look a little different. On the way right, the yellow boxes says all 5 to 8 students. Those are the percentages that we had on the previous slide. I want to draw your attention to the 7th grade column. That is the pink column. We brought this data to our last whole child task force meeting, and there was a lot of conversation about 7th grade. The percentages are pretty low, especially in regards to there is at least one teacher or adult in the school who I can talk to if I have a problem. While we have 79% overall grades 5 through 8, the 7th graders responded only 64% that they agree or mostly agree with that statement, which is quite a difference. Another point that was a pretty big discrepancy for the 7th grade was I feel like I have a lot of choices in what and how I learn, and that's 42%. When we are talking about the data at the Whole Child Task Force, a few things came up in the conversation. One was there were only so many 7th graders who participated. Is this an accurate description? Is this accurate data based on the whole class? So that came up as a question. What also came up was this grade 7 historically has struggled in school for a number of different reasons. Last year, I remember meeting with our authorizer from St. Thomas who said 6th grades across all the schools they were working with were struggling. And we saw that in our 6th graders as well, who are now 7th graders. That's the same group of kids. But that kind of gave us information of we want to find out more information from this group of students. And we also want to figure out what they need in order to feel like they have an adult they can talk to at school. And so we brainstorm a lot of different ideas as a task force, and we're bringing them back to the larger staff. And the first step we came to was we want to hear more from the students, especially in the question, I feel like I have a lot of choices in what and how I learn. We almost think that can be 2 different questions. What does choice look like to them? And what they're learning or how they're learning? Is that different? Are we going to get different responses based on if we divide that question into 2 different parts? Besides the 7th grade, overall, we discussed how we can get more participation in the survey, especially for 7th and 8th grade students. So again, as a task force, we came up with a few ideas I know they get it from me as an email. Not all the kids like reading their emails. They are reminded during their advisory to pull up the survey, things like that. But we decided that we want to bring it, yes, into advisory. It's still going to come via email as a form, but we are going to determine one teacher to kind of lead hey, we're doing a survey today, but everyone can do it. We can't force our kids to take a survey if they don't want to. That's also their right and their choice. But we obviously want as accurate data and representation as we can get. So that's kind of the biggest discussion points that we had as a task force. If you want to go to the next slide, I think I covered most of the recommendations.
Yeah.
Before we go,
You go back once.
Yeah. do we have questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
The questions the students face, maybe you've answered this already.
Mhm.
How did you come up with them?
That's a really good question. Last year, when we were putting together the survey, we pulled mostly from the CASEL website, which is a collaborative of academics, social and emotional learning, CASEL. They have a bunch of model student belonging surveys. In addition, there were a lot of other middle school belonging surveys online. And so we pulled and found like the most common threads from all those surveys. Some were shorter, some were much longer. And we wanted to keep it 20 questions or less. It's actually statements, right? 20 statements that they agree, mostly agree, disagree, or highly disagree on.
The CASEL standard, Minnesota Department of Education does not require social emotional learning, but they do refer to the CASEL standards. So if we had standards, they're as close to SEL standards as we were given by the state.
Yeah, and then before we sent the survey out, you know, the other groups that met, the diversity and belonging group, the councils and student support team, we all looked at the survey questions before finalizing it. Other questions on all those numbers or the data at all?
I know you already addressed it with the splitting up the what and how I learn,
Yep.
and I know you said grade 7 was kind of on its own, but grade 8 looks like it's only 48% for that question as well.
Yes. That was a conversation too, right? We talked a little bit more about the 5th grade, how maybe 5th graders are feeling still optimistic about middle school. And yes, this is great because for them, they go from 4th grade, which is one classroom, one teacher mostly of the day, to maybe they feel like their world has widened, where 7th and 8th graders are not feeling that anymore, maybe. But we definitely discussed that a little.
Yeah, is that something you think you'll explore, like trying to find options? I know it's kind of hard with not having electives that you can really choose and stuff
7th
like
and 8th
that.
graders do get a bit of choice in their electives. So that's why we are also a little surprised of, well, they do have a little bit more choice, right? Are they going to take media arts or visual arts, things like that? But yeah, I think separating that question could potentially give us a little bit more information. There were no short answers on the survey either. That's why if we have a teacher almost facilitating the survey, maybe answering some questions at the beginning or at the end of the survey might help with that.
I'd also be curious about removing the word lot. So it's just a choice versus a lot of choice, because that's really just adding another threshold to an already subjective question.
Yep. Yeah, that's a fair point.
I was gonna say too, I wonder if with that, I know you kind of talked about breaking out that how I learn. I wonder how kids think about that question.
A lot of it is subjective.
Yeah. I just think about thinking back to middle school, thinking about how I learn. I don't know that I would have been able to answer that question effectively. So I wonder if there's a way to be more specific about how kids learn and asking like, do you feel like you have choice in X, Y, or Z or something like that?
Yeah, making it more specific.
Yeah, just.
I don't think this question is asking about course selection because they have the most choice of anybody in the building. I think my assumption would be that the students are thinking about the content.
And I think again, like this brings up a lot of questions, I think, or for conversation too, of like, what are they perceiving as choice?
Yeah.
You know, if you talk about History Day, there's a lot of choices. Well, maybe they don't see it as a lot of choices because you have to do History Day, right? Like,
yeah.
Some of our students are very rigid thinkers. And so it's black or white. Nope, I've got no choices because I'm at school. You know, but what are they perceiving as a choice? And that's a little bit can come back to our teachers of how, you know, how can we craft a lesson? How can we craft our classroom that students are feeling like they walk in and do have choice?
And is there any grade level or any time that students kind of learn about the different ways of learning, like whether it's visual or auditory.
Do they do an inventory?
Do teachers do the inventory, or
Yeah.
are students made aware of, oh, I'm more a visual learner because well, X, Y, or Z. I don't know.
Yeah, I
I don't know
mean,
that.
just be curious if like just understanding that there's different ways of learning so you can bring that yourself into the experience might help with that question outside of even changing the curriculum. I know, when I was taught that as a younger person, like it really made me think about how I show up in class and what I prioritize, whether it was note taking or listening and everything. So that might be something that could be done.
It's a really good point. Okay, we'll move on to recommendations from the whole child task force. These are things that we came up with at our last meeting. We want to continue the belonging survey this spring, so we will do it once again. And going forward, we'll have the survey twice a year. Our goal is to increase participation by 20%. That's a big percentage, but I think we can do it, going from 70% to 90%. Again, just being really intentional about how we are presenting it, catching the kids who maybe are absent the day that it's sent out, things like that. Teachers, like we already kind of talked about, teachers to explore with students about choice and learning. We saw the noticeable decrease in 7th and 8th grades, and then differentiating how I learned versus what I learned. Focus some efforts onto our 4th grade class after we find out a little bit more information from those students, and really focusing on the 2 statements there. There's at least one adult I can talk to if I have a problem. And that, just as a side note, that was I think that was in every student belonging survey that we reviewed last year, of the importance of students having a person. So that's a reason, that one kind of sticks out. It's a really important aspect for students in school. And then obviously the choices one that we already talked about. For the survey, the task force also included or talked about including additional questions about student identities, including questions for students to identify if they have an IEP or 504 plan at school. The only indicator that would be for students, like I mentioned, was the statement, I identify as a student with a disability. We had 8 students who responded yes to that question. We know that we have more students on IEP plans and 504 plans in our middle school. We have more than 8. So that came up as a question of, is that, do we have the full representation or not? And then you'll see the visual on the right-hand side is actually the elementary school version coming in spring. We've been working, student support team has been working and the whole child task force on creating an elementary school version for the belonging survey, which I'm real excited about, because that's the other part of our student body is the little one. So K4 will look a little different. We're not doing it online. It's going to be paper, and it's going to look like thumbs, smiley faces with thumbs. Real similar questions, just around, I feel like my teacher is there to help me solve my problems, and I don't remember the other examples that are on there, but really similar, trying to get to the root of how our students are feeling in their classrooms. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank
That was
you.
a lot of work.
Yeah, that was great.
It's really encouraging to see those.
My favorite
stuff. Yeah.
Good work.
Maybe after you flip through all the papers of the elementary school kids, so you might not feel like it's your favorite. That's, yeah.
We've got a plan.
You got a plan.
We got a plan.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Of course you do. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's just 2 more slides, and I told Catherine she could leave after this.
You don't want to hang out?
Innovative education is the next one. Our READ Act training continues in a really interesting turn of events. MDE has decided that we are not moving on to phase 2 next year, that we are continuing with phase 1. Because although we got into this training, I think a lot of other schools didn't. So just so you know, that is being sluggish. Our ELA curriculum review work is continuing with Catherine at the helm there, with an eye on the curricula that MDE has reviewed as part of the REDAC being part of that. We submitted our Access grant. Thank you to Esther Noy for school year 25 and 26 and 26, 27. They go in 2-year chunks. The entire state does it at the same time. And what's really notable is that we got it in on the early review deadline. It's kind of a big deal. It should be ADSYS. Yeah, thank you. Access is ELL testing. I don't know why that says that. Sorry, ADSYS grant. Speaking of access testing for English learners is happening right now. That is required testing for our ELL students. IXL is that software that we were piloting at the beginning with some smaller groups has now spread, and we are using it 3 through 8th grade, getting some great data. And at the end of the year, we'll wrap up and figure out if it was a product that we want to continue with. MCAs are being prepared for. We did our administrative training for staff on the 14th, and Esther Noy again is she's had a busy month. She is at the helm of that. German Immersion Task Force was cataloging immersion strategies, and we're beginning work on the Immersion 101/102 courses for New Teacher Week. This is an idea that I got from Brett Wedlin over at Nova. He does classical education 101 through, I think, 107. And so having a really concise package that we offer to new teachers and then continuing with it the following year for second-year teachers. That's something that we will start this summer. Survey going out to assess whether we're meeting our language objective goals for the year. The goal was that teachers would be at about a 50% fidelity rate. DSD is coming up in March. The German Immersion Conference at the GAI, that was officially announced. And so our staff are deciding who would like to attend that. It's the very last weekend in May. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm doing the keynote address.
Oh, very cool.
So excited. TCS intern program, we received 9 new spring interns. This says this weekend, but I think I did that for the committee of the whole. So they've been here for a couple weeks already. And they're starting to fit in.
Can I ask a question about bullet point 2? Can you expand on what that means? Survey
Yes.
going out to assess language objective fidelity.
Yep, at the beginning of the year, we said that part of our PD for the year was to teach our teachers how to do language objectives, which would be in addition to doing, here's the content that we're learning for the lesson. We're also going to learn these different language functions. So we're going to work on key vocabulary or subjunctive, conjunct, something like that. And so we, the German Immersion Task Force put together the survey, and we'll send it out to teachers to see whether they're adding those, whether there's any concern with adding them, what further training might need to happen, and if that's something that is happening.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks for being here, Catherine.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
We can let you scoot out if you're before we move on.
Catherine was on an all-day training today, so I'm
Oh,
sure
it's a long day.
exhausted. Yeah.
So, awesome. Thank you as always for your report. All right. Next on our agenda is our board committee reports. And we can start with our executive committee report, because I think that's probably the most exciting of all of our board committee reports. And I've asked Director Lindner to kind of give a recap of what the executive committee has been up to, specifically on our work to develop a contract extension.
Certainly. So in our executive committee, we took it upon ourselves as requested or required, I should say, to review the performance of Executive Director Zemfenik for the last period, since Director Zemfenik is on a currently 1-year contract. We have found the performance to be excellent in the time that she served as the executive director. And we are pleased on behalf of the board, and on behalf of the executive committee, to extend a contract for 3 years to Director Zenfinik. And so with that, I'm making the motion to approve the contract for Director Zenfinik as it was distributed.
So you all should have received the contract. I did ask Kevin to add it to our board packet a little bit late, but yeah, as Director Lindner said, we're really excited to be able to extend this 3-year offer to you, and appreciate all of the hard work that you have embarked upon this year to make a really meaningful difference for our school. So there's lots of good work to come, especially as we start our next strategic plan. So
Did we get a second?
we did not get a second. We started discussing.
Okay, I'll give a second.
You'll get a second so we can continue to
And then we can
discuss.
continue discussing.
All right. Any other discussion?
When we started last year, when I started my term, I wasn't expecting such a tumultuous start to the school year. That we had power outage on the first week of school.
Second day.
Second day.
That was
day.
this year.
That was.
Yes. The fact that on day 2 of school, we had a plan in place to deal with that, I think speaks volumes around preparedness for the school. So, and I was able to observe other occasions where Dr. Zenfinik, Director Zenfinik, Dr. Do you have a PhD?
I'm not a
Oh.
doctor, just a director.
Director Zenfinik jumped in and took the helm and navigated very choppy waters. And I'm very impressed with her performance. So she has my full confidence, and hope that the next 3 years gonna be easier, which I know they won't.
It never is. Never is. There's always something.
But yeah, she has my full
Oh,
confidence.
wait, did she sign this yet?
Yeah. She can't sign it until we vote on it.
Thank you, Director Lindner. Nice.
Yeah, I'll just add my 2 cents. I hope you already know how I feel about you and how much you love and care about this school and how much we love and care about you and are lucky to have you. Continually impressed at every interaction that we have. So keep it up. I think the 3-year contract is well deserved.
Thank you, Director Hyde.
Elizabeth said that she was an activator when we hired her, and I think that has become very apparent in the amount of things that she has tackled and got underway or finished already in her first year as executive director. And as someone that gets to meet with her every week, the checklist is never lacking of things to do and things underway and things in progress. And I think that just reflects your passion for the school and your commitment. So we are lucky to have you. You have to finish the full year, the full 3 years though. That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
It's not really official, but just saying.
Sure. Well, were I to sign the contract, I would be very excited about the strategic plan that this team will work on with me. And the idea to be able to be around for 3 years of a strategic plan is really, really exciting to be able to have a say in the direction. And then to be here to execute on that direction is an absolute honor that not a lot of leaders get.
Absolutely.
For sure not one that's been here in recent memory. Great.
So my 2 cents would be,
I feel like it's gonna be 4 cents.
But from my perspective, I think one of the reasons for a 3-year contract is to empower you and really let you be the leader that you can be. So, and then of course the other part of it is, at this point, it is my opinion that you know, for the time, for the place, you probably are the best person we have. So, yeah, we're looking forward to a successful 3 years.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? Ed gives a thumbs up. All right. Perfect. All right. Well, all those in favor of approving the contract for the executive director as found in the board packet and as reviewed as a board, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. I look forward to signing that contract. All right. Any other updates from the executive committee that we would like to share? I think that was the majority of our meeting. We meet again on Monday, so perfect. Next is fundraising. Lindsay, Dr. Smaka, sorry.
Yeah, that's good. Let's see, we met on the 11th. It was a really great meeting. We wrote thank you cards to all of the fall donors. Thank you to Isabel and Paige for putting those together. We got an update of where we are in our goal. So we are at $60,000 of our $85,000 goal, which is pretty good. Kind of saw the breakdown of all of that. And then we really started looking at the spring campaign. So we're hoping to do our spring campaign in April, right after spring break. And we want to do something new. So we are looking into this and going to go with it. And hopefully it'll work really cool. It's called Raise Praise. And basically the premise around it is that students pledge to do acts of kindness. And when they complete their acts of kindness, friends, family, people in the community will donate so that students will do the acts of kindness. And the different acts vary from grade level, which is fine. We can also do class setups to have classroom competitions. And so it's kind of a fun new thing to launch and get the kids excited about. I think that's about it. Kirsten, or am I missing anything?
No, I think as we've shared in the past, one of our goals is really try to expand the number of people that can participate in our fundraising efforts, because it has primarily been focused on parents. And this is a platform that allows us to easily share. Think of it as like a readathon or a walkathon. It's a platform that allows that sharing capability for students to record a message, record a note that their parents can then share out to their networks. We're not peddling wrapping paper. We're not making students sell anything on behalf, but really just inviting their networks and their families to join in their work to spread kindness in the community, and in return to spread kindness, to share their kindness with our community by making a gift to our annual fund. So I was just on their website today looking at some of the success that schools have had with this platform, and it's been pretty amazing to see some of what these schools have done. So again, it's all very age appropriate. It's go out and feed the birds, chalk your neighbor's walk, call an older adult in your life and say hi. So it's nothing that is crazy or over the top. We're not asking them to, make huge donations or do collections of any kind, but really just to do simple acts of kindness that can make the community a better space around them. So I'm excited about it. I hope that it is a successful effort for our school, because while 25,000 is certainly not where we started. I mean, we've done really well with getting to 60, but 25 is not really a super small number either. So, and we know that that's an important part of our operational budget. So, trying to be creative and think outside the box a little bit here. Any questions on that? All right, finance.
All right, the finance committee met at the beginning of the month for the first time since our December meeting. We had a discussion on, or an update more so on the switching of banks. That is still moving, but it's not finalized yet. Back to the lawyers with paperwork. But we have been navigating some of the account admin and stuff like that. Getting the ball rolling on that so we can move as soon as we are able. Other than that, we discussed enrollment and financial reports, which Elizabeth went over in the director's report. So unless anybody has any more questions on that, I will move on to our other business, which was campus planning update. Elizabeth also included that. It's really not hard anymore.
So sorry.
No, it's great.
So thorough.
It's really not hard anymore. And we also talked about the E-rate grant and the upgrades to our IT infrastructure throughout the school that will be happening this summer. I think we also discussed them at a committee of the whole, so the whole board should be fairly aware.
I don't know that we did.
Did we not?
Does anyone have questions about the E-rate? Are everybody aware of?
No, is that not something we discussed?
I think we did because I remember saying, all right, I'm gonna try to do this.
We
And
did.
then I did.
Oh, we,
Yeah.
okay.
That might have been at an executive committee meeting, actually, now that I think about it.
It was a small group that we
Oh,
hopped
that
on
was
for that
small group.
call.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Is Ed and.
Well, I know,
Okay.
so there's only two here that aren't covered by finance or executive committee, so.
Well, and Wandy. I don't think Wandy.
Well, that's what Emily and Bonnie, because
And Lindsay.
Lindsay was at the executive committee about it.
I think it was a call. I think it was a one-off.
Yeah. I
Oh,
think
was
it
it?
you two.
And it was during the day.
Yeah.
It was like a, yeah.
Okay, so three people. Do you have any, so E-rate, do you want to explain it, Elizabeth, or you want me to?
Yeah, I can explain it. E-rate is federal grant money given through the FCC. And it is designed to ensure that students have proper infrastructure in order to be able to access internet. It's a grant that we haven't leveraged yet, but because we are contracting with Umbrella Systems, they are super familiar with the process. They did all the paperwork through another contractor and got the E-rate. And so it's about
Just 100.
$100,000 over the course of 5 years. And it was our 5-year was about to expire, so we'll use it up straight away when the summer starts. And Austin's gonna do all kinds of stuff that I don't understand. Maybe Director Larson does better than I do, but
Yeah.
he's gonna do all kinds of stuff to upgrade and make our system hopefully running better. And then it also allows us to get deals on our rates on our internet and things like that. And we'll be able to reapply then after this cycle.
Yeah, so one really interesting thing about the way E-rate grant is structured is it's one chunk of money that you can apply for every 5 years, and there's a deadline. So because we hadn't used it yet, the deadline for the last 5-year chunk is in the fall. So we have to use that all at once, essentially, or lose it.
Yeah.
So we are using it all. Have a plan to just upgrade, basically dropping new lines to all the things that can be connected, whether it's a camera, whether it's we talked about this in, I think, Rachel's room the other day about the hub or whatever that's in there to connect to the internet. So like that'll be getting a new line. So hopefully that kind of stuff gets a lot better throughout the building. And then we'll apply for the next 5-year chunk and use 20,000 of that every year to essentially maintain a great new system that we're getting. They're also upgrading the server room and everything.
It's a big upgrade to the server room and then
Yeah.
additional cameras too.
And
security-
additional cameras.
security
Yep.
cameras.
So it's a pretty cool thing.
Mhm.
It'll bring us into the 21st century.
There are a lot of things we can't use it for. We can't use it for hardware. We can't use it to buy Chromebooks. We can't do it for that kind of stuff, but this saves money so that we can do that.
Yeah. Well, we can't use it for like the end device, like a node. We can use it for hardware, but like
All the infrastructure. is
yeah,
covered.
infrastructure hardware.
And, and
Infrastructure hardware, not.
the service, right? The internet
Yeah.
And the
cost,
service.
which is
Correct.
huge.
So it'll be super cool. And Ed and I and Jens hopefully get to come check it out when they put it in.
Oh, absolutely.
You've already invited yourself.
I mean, everybody can come, I guess, but. So, and that is the entirety of the finance report, unless anybody has any other questions.
Do we have a sense of how much longer it will take to transfer to the bank? Transfer banks?
I really don't.
Okay.
Longest process ever.
Mhm.
It's a really long process, and I will tell you that Bremer just got bought by Old National, so I don't know how that's gonna impact anything. Okay.
I wonder if we
Lawyers
would,
to hurry up.
yeah,
Well, Kelly actually said maybe we shouldn't move because Old National is better.
Bremer. Let's save that for another meeting.
Save that for another.
It seems like a lot to tackle at this point.
Yeah.
It's on our next agenda.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Director Hyde. That brings us to Committee of the Whole. We've touched on a few of the things that we covered at our last Committee of the Whole. In addition, just to going over all the amazing recruitment events. We also, as Elizabeth mentioned, heard a presentation from Charter Connect about our online fundraising or our online marketing and the work that they have continued to do to help us increase our digital presence in the community with some decent results. Dallin presented a number of analytics about our performance, and so we have opted to increase that ad spend for March and April, or February and April. February and March.
February and March.
Sorry.
Nope, March and
March and
April.
April.
March and April.
God. So excited to see what continues to come there. We also spent some time sharing our recommendations for a strategic planning consultant. We discussed at our last January meeting, we had 2 potential consultants that we had received proposals from to help us in our strategic planning, Mighty Consulting and MISBA. We were in pretty strong agreement that we decided to go with MISBA due to their kind of specialty in supporting schools. So we're excited to begin that. I know Elizabeth's already had some conversations with Gail, and I will be sharing a rough schedule of kind of those first meetings with the board at our next Committee of the Whole, possibly emailing that out to everybody beforehand so that we can get those on our calendar to start those listening sessions with various stakeholder groups. So that work is already underway since our last meeting. We also did discuss our board vacancy from Anna Miller's departure, as well as the nomination process for the spring for our standard board elections. So we are aware of one potential teacher who may be interested in joining, and I know Director Albers has reached out to share the application. We've also been including an announcement in the Rune Brief for the past number of weeks. So I think we will continue to work on appointing a replacement for Frau Miller, while we also work to recruit folks to run in our regular spring election. So that work is underway. And then we did do a first reading of the lead policy, which we will hear in a moment, as well as the cell phone policy. So that's just a recap of our Committee of the Whole meeting. Which brings us to governance.
Yeah, well, you did have to work for me, so
Yeah.
I don't have to rehash all of the things about non-com. We are still open to applications, but hopefully the appointment can go through. Once I hear more, waiting on a few things. And then, yeah, we'll be meeting again soon to discuss the next pieces of the election process as we get closer and closer to those dates that come way too fast every year. So those are kind of the subcommittee updates. Out of governance, like Director Reich mentioned, we have 2 policies up for approval tonight that are both due in March per expectations from the higher ups. So with that in mind before discussion, I would make a motion to approve policy 550, which is the student use of personal electronic devices and cell phones, as well as policy 807.1, which is the lead management plan policy.
Director Albers,
Yeah,
are you able to give a 2-line summary of the cell phone policy for anybody that might be listening? We did get an email in our
I did
box.
see
I thought
that.
maybe it'd be a good idea to just give a.
I did see that. I was
2-second
hoping
summary.
for discussion purposes, but I said move.
I'll second.
Sorry.
All right, discussion?
Got it.
All right, discussion. To give the summary, the cell phone policy is going to state that cell phones need to be off during school time. Otherwise, this also applies to personal devices like smartwatches. And trying to think how else I can summarize it without getting further into the weeds of the policy itself, but obviously, any medical desires, needs would be communicated with the health office and of course, exempt from anything going.
You know what I would say? I would say it didn't change how we use
Yeah.
cell phones at all in our school.
Absolutely. It's just a reiteration. I
Just
will
putting in
say,
policy.
yeah, to expand off of summarizing, I would say too, that there was a lot of work done behind the scenes on the administration's behalf of making sure that all stakeholders did have time to submit feedback to this policy. This was something that was obviously going to elicit a lot of feelings in a lot of different groups in different ways. We have, to nobody's surprise, a difference between students versus the adult populations of staff and parents to a varying degree. And so looking at other policies that have been that are starting to move their way around the state as this becomes a requirement for all for all districts. That is one of the things that kind of stood out was what is the research saying about this? So as it states in the policy, just to reinforce it, it's on this, it's in section 2, the very last sentence of the statement of policy. Parents may contact their child during school hours by contacting the school's main office. So you can still get in contact with your children during the day, but through our system to ensure that students are focused on academics versus on electronics.
It is on page 43 of the packet.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm looking at
No, you're fine.
the draft.
Dr. Albers, I would add that we looked at a lot of other policies. Every school had the requirement to do this. We looked at a lot of other policies. Some would beat us to the punch. And we added from St. Paul Public Schools under the purpose 1.1 through 1.5, some science, some data, connecting the use of cell phones with the ineffectiveness, just that it doesn't have any place in instruction. And the link to mental health for students and academic performance.
Yep. Any other discussion on 550?
Well, since this is a new policy, will this be on automatically on the 3-year cycle, or is this a new one that we'll review again next year?
Good question. I have to double check to make sure that it's not on the annual review calendar. But the initial reaction is to put it on 3. However, we can always pull it at any time, and this goes for any policy. We can always pull it out of rotation to update it. So if it's something where we're like, wow, that's not working, that's always an option for us to do.
I do appreciate the addition of the research behind kind of the detriment of having cell phones in schools, and the reminder that kids are here to focus on learning and not focus on socializing in that way. And so I appreciate the thoughtfulness that the committee gave to those considerations.
One follow-up question, since you said that this basically validates current expectations in the school. Is there any changes to the handbook or anything else that will kind of come down the line after adopting this?
Yeah, we shouldn't have to change anything. That's a
Okay.
good question.
Good.
I have a question. Is there any time that teachers could have students use their cell phone? with
Yeah,
Teacher approval?
There is wiggle room in the policy for
Yeah.
teacher approval because our yearbook
Yeah.
classes do utilize their phone if they have it.
Do you want to go, any other questions on cell phone policy?
You may have talked about this, what is the enforcement? Or how the policy enforced?
So
I can take
It's-
this one if you want.
yeah, if you want.
Yeah, so this is the policy that is held up by procedure, and so the
Yeah.
procedure comes on the admin procedure side, which is the cell phone, gosh, what is that called? I can't think of what that title is, but the kids know what the process is, that teachers have the right to take it away, send it to the office. We have a form that they fill out for referrals. Catherine and Nina will do interventions, they'll do behavior contracts. There's we've been doing that for 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, in the policy, it states that staff will respond to misuse in accordance with the student handbook. So all the violations would be, outlined under or in the handbook.
Do you want to vote on both policies at once, or do you want to?
I'm good to do
To
that. Questions on or discussion on 8071? This is the second time you've seen it. We double checked, it is parts per billion. That was one thing at committee of the whole that we wanted to ensure. Some things said parts per million versus billion. We're going with the B. Otherwise, not a lot changed from what this used to be. Lori was super helpful in checking on a few things, making sure we did link. Or I think I did. I was going to. We debated linking some of it too. There is a whole basically with the time crunch of needing this ready for March, we had decided that the way that it's kind of written at this point was in addition to the guide that is written by MDE. We were afraid to link it in case that link ever were to disappear for whatever reason. So I did download the PDF, and that would be more of the procedural side. So using that, it's called Reducing Lead in Drinking Water, a Technical Guidance for Minnesota Schools and Childcare Facilities. Again, don't think it's gonna go away, but you never know. Links are always fun. So that is the main guide for us to be looking at some of the more specifics. If we find that this is something that we'd like to add more of the specifics into with a stressful type feeling of a time crunch, that could be obviously, again, brought up out of rotation to talk about, but it is up to standard with what we were hoping to have for this getting approved this month.
Perfect. Any questions? All right. All those in favor of approving policy 807.1, the lead management plan, as well as policy 550, student use of personal electronic devices and cell phones, as included in the board packet, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. All right, motion carries. Thank you, Director Albers and the governance committee. All right, that brings us to liaison updates. Our parent liaison, Director Yamaniab, is out tonight, and I don't know if he did not share an update with me. I don't know if you guys have a parent council update.
We met.
Sorry, put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I have to think about that because I just kind of came for my bit and then I left. And then he does his bit and then he leaves and then they talk. So I don't know. It's a good question.
All right, we'll expect a update from him the next time. Staff
We
liaison.
can do the same thing for me
Oh.
because there has not been a staff meeting since our last meeting, but there will be on the 10th. So I should have an update for the March board meeting.
Great. Administrative liaison, Director Zamfini and I and Director Hyde meet weekly. And I think the most of our conversation right now has been most recently focused on some of the dates, like I shared, for the upcoming strategic planning. And some of the trickle down from some of the federal policies and communications that we have been receiving from the Attorney General, Director Education, Commissioner of Education, just in making sure that we are informed and aware of how our school could be impacted and just proactively planning, keeping ourselves up to date and educated on what's going on in the broader world around us. So nothing specific at this point from that. So excellent. Any updates from the academic?
Yeah,
Side of
the
things?
curriculum advisory committee met on February 18th after a few pushbacks for getting things ready. There's so much going on in the world of legislation and updates and acts and everything that they pushed it back a little bit, which was great. It was a small group this time, but we did a little bit of a workshop together on what way we want to move with the goals for lifelong learning, which is one of the newer requirements. Thank you. And then there was a lot of updates on math, on English language arts standards, which are being reviewed, updated, and re-implemented next year. And then also the REACT. So in the workshop, it was kind of, we also looked at the student belonging survey, but we worked as a group to think about sample goals for the area of preparing students to be lifelong learners. So things that came up included TCGIS offering at least 3 special advisory project groups in middle school during the 25-26 year that promote lifelong learning. There was a mention of certain amount of service learning hours, which is something that Herr Tabish, myself, and Carol Radeke have been discussing service learning hours for middle schoolers. It was a lot of middle school focused ideas on that front, and one of the other ones that we thought of in the group was doing something like Abzeichen, which is like our above and beyond kind of awards that we do. You can get them in different classes for doing certain different things, and thinking about a way to do it for critical thinking and fact finding and looking at really reliable information, etc. So a lot of different, it was very much just like a spit onto the page and see what we kind of come up with, but it was a really great lesson of If you don't like my metaphor, come
I've
on.
never heard that before.
I haven't either, so. Yeah, and then they updated curriculum. There was a lot of updating, families that have been involved in the curriculum advisory committee. Talking about the pilot of IXL again in 3rd and 4th grades to supplement the German curriculum going on. Talked about the fact that the ELA crew is meeting quite frequently to look at potential new curricula to purchase, in addition, that work with our unique situation of being an immersion school. I know a lot about this because I'm in those meetings. Trying to find ways to piecemeal the fact that our kids start English formally in 3rd grade, and how most of those, obviously those curricula would be a little bit too intense for some of them, depending on which one you go with. So we're kind of looking to figure out how we can fix that and get what we need, but also not always make everything, which is great. And then talking about the READ Act. So just again, updating where the cohorts are. Most of the K-4 classroom teachers, as well as the English teachers, are in the course this year from OLA, and then the next cohort will begin next year. So yeah, it was a lot of updates. Yeah, well, and now that's changed. So they meet again on April 29th. So
That's a lot of work.
it's a lot.
Thank you for those updates. Any other board committee or subcommittee updates that we missed? Great. Or liaison updates. Wonderful. Any new business? Great. Then, hearing none, I will conclude our meeting, and we are adjourned for tonight. We'll meet again on March 7th. No, 20. I have it written down. March 27th.
So sorry.
I have March 27th. No,
March 27th conference meeting.
March 20th. Just kidding. All right.
We can meet twice.
We can meet twice. Yeah.
You want?
Meeting is adjourned. All right. Thanks, guys.
I won't do conference.